We will call this meeting to order December 17th, 2024. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, good morning, everyone. The last meeting of the year. I'm not sure where the time goes, but here we are. We do have a quorum present with all 5 commissioners in attendance. Commissioners, first order of business this morning is the approval of the agenda. And I would ask if there's any questions, corrections prior to, otherwise entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Yes, I will second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Next up is tab A. We've got 2 public hearings in the Planning and Zoning Department before you this morning. First being Resolution 24-12-ZO-01 for approval of a zoning map amendment from agriculture and heavy industrial to heavy industrial. Requested by Mountain West Overthrust Pipeline LLC and Cindy Sheehan. And this time I would hand it over to Sweetwater County Planner Cassidy Brandt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today we are looking at property that is zoned for agricultural and heavy industrial use. And the infrastructure that exists on this property is it's within the GMA. It's there's US Highway 191. And then off of that, there's Candace Station Road, which is the private road to the facilities. It's also within Fire District number 1 response area, and then the scenic slope overlay area. So what the applicant is looking to do is to clean up the zoning in the area by just amending the zoning in the quarter sections that are shown here in blue, that are the outline to the blue. And so that it'll be zoned just for I2, just heavy industrial instead of for ag and heavy industrial use. This will just allow for more uniform expansion in the future and just kind of simplify the process for Mountain West as they look to expand, so they don't have to go through a zone map amendment every single time. Here we just can do normal permitting if we can just clean up that zoning. So here's another view of the zoning map, just kind of zoomed out so we can see the quarters that are impacted here. And then we posted our public notice November 6th. And then there's view to the north, south, east, and west there as well. And that brings us right into our review criteria for a zone map amendment. So staff finds that this amendment would encourage growth and development to continue in an orderly manner, and that would be beneficial to the well-being of county residents, economically and social well-being, all of that stuff there. Second is that the proposed zoning is suitable for the existing topography, and we find that it is. It also will help to allow for future projects and expansion in the area. Third is that the proposed zoning is compatible with existing or allowable uses of adjacent properties and neighboring zoning districts, and it will be the adjacent properties that would be near this are already zoned for agricultural or heavy industrial use. So not really too much of a change there. And then our 4th criteria is just that the proposed zoning can demonstrate adequate public facilities. And there are adequate facilities currently located on the existing property for the facility that is there. 5th is that the amendment shall not adversely affect adjacent properties, communities, or health and safety and welfare of the residents of Sweetwater County. And staff does not anticipate any adverse impacts on any of those. And finally, we have that the request does conform to the 2015 Sweetwater County zoning resolution. We received 2 agency comments. So we've got Jared Martin, a right-of-way specialist, stating that Tesoro Logistics Northwest Pipeline LLC is clear. And then Ryan Reed stated that this property has no AML concerns with regard to abandoned historic mines. And then at the December 11th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the P and Z Commission voted 4-0 to recommend approval of this zone map amendment from agricultural and heavy industrial use to just heavy industrial use, which was requested by Mountain West Overthrust Pipeline and City Sheehan. And the applicant is here today as well, if there are any questions. And that's all I have for that, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Cassie. Appreciate that. Seems pretty straightforward. Do we have any questions, commissioners, for staff or the applicant? If not, we do need to open this up for a public hearing. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak to this zoning map amendment as presented, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I move to approve resolution 24-12-0-01 for approval of a zoning map amendment.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Good luck. Merry Christmas to you. Next up under tab A is item number 2. We've got a notice of intent for language amendments to the 2015 Sweetwater County Zoning Resolution, Section 3, Purpose and Application, Section 4I, International Fire Code, Section 5F, District Use Chart, Section 7, the Conditional Use Permit, Section 11D, Parking Regulations Table, and Section 19, Application Fees, and 21, Definitions. This time, I'll hand it over to Mr. Bingham. And good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. So let's just dive right into it. The changes that we're proposing, there were some that were actually postponed at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'll get to those as we get towards that section. So the first thing that we're doing is taking the application fees and basically just moving it from a section later in the code into section 3. The purpose of that is so that we will open up a supplemental use regulation section that will regulate recreational vehicle parks. We find it very necessary to regulate recreational vehicle parks with, especially for the high demand of temporary housing that will be coming with those large projects. So we felt that standards would be necessary. That is what was postponed. We have some further discussions at the planning and zoning for that. But that's the first thing. Then in section 4, we're actually looking to adopt the 2024 International Fire Code. So as every 3 years, we have to match what the state does in order to maintain home rule. So I'm going to stop just right there, Mr. Chairman, if the Board of County Commissioners has any questions on any of the updates on the International Fire Code. I have Mr. Adams here to address if there are any questions.
Thanks, Eric. Any questions on any of these changes, commissioners? Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the next section we're going into, so the rest of what has, and Cassie Brown has done incredible job here. She did all the work here. One thing when we brought her on in her first language amendment, baptism by fire, I guess you would say, is to go into the use chart and make definitions for those uses. When people come in or the public comes in, and this is a benefit for the public and for staff, to know to have these things further defined. And so that is basically what has happened in the district use chart. We are now matching definitions to the proper wording it should be. So that's really all that's happened in the district use chart. Then we really get into the parking section, the same thing. We're just making sure that we are matching the uses to the definitions in the parking section. There's just an example right there. And then we get into the definitions. And yeah, there's the application fees. And so when you get into definitions, we made things so that they all matched each other as far as dwelling units or signs, whatever it may be, so that they're all kind of in the same area. The other thing that we did in here, especially like when you just take, for example, daycare centers and daycare homes, we're now matching that definition with the state definition. Department of Family Services does regulate daycares, and so we wanted to make sure that we were matching those because there's different levels of daycares, whether someone just starting at the home under 10 children goes from 10 to 15, and then above that becomes a center. And so we made sure we matched that. Same thing with evaporation ponds. They are now called produce ponds, which now match actually the definitions in DEQ. And Mr. Chairman, unless there's questions, that's really all that we have. I didn't want to go through all the definitions since we did provide the staff report to the board. The Planning and Zoning Commission did vote 4-0 to move these ahead. Again, we will bring the recreational vehicle standards when those are ready. We need probably additional workshops and such to get through those regulations. What we're asking for today is for the board just to do a notice of intent for 45 days so that we can advertise this. And if the public would like to comment or has any concerns, they can reach out to the land use department. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Eric, and thanks, Cassidy. That's a lot of work. I think there's 187 pages of different, I guess, corrections and updates, and I would imagine that was a pretty daunting task, but well done.
And
Questions
Mr.
or
Chairman,
comments? Go ahead.
we'll get to the telecommunication tower stuff that you're
That's good.
anxiously awaiting.
Good. Be the first to move on that. Any questions or comments on this notice of intent, commissioners? We have to have a public hearing for this as well?
Doesn't hurt.
Okay. We, at this time, will open this up for public hearing for the notice of intent for the language amendments we've been discussing. If there's anyone online or in the audience who would like to speak to these, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move to approve the notice of intent for language amendments to the 2015 Sweetwater County zoning resolution. Section 3, purpose and application, Section 41, International Fire Code, Section 5F, district use chart, Section 7, conditional use permit, Section 11D, parking regulations chart, and Section 21, definitions.
We do have a motion to approve the notice of intent by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would second that.
Second by Commissioner Tillman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next on the agenda is county resident comments and concerns. If there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to address the governing body, now is the appropriate time. Good morning. Please introduce yourselves for the record, and the floor is yours.
I'm Dave Buller from the Jamestown Fire District. I'm the Secretary Treasurer.
Well, good morning. What can we do for you?
Well, it's a concern right now is that we are elected members for the board, a 3-member board for the Jamestown Fire District. We've served for many years, and we're coming to the end of our terms, which will expire the 1st of January. And so in July, I believe we made the board aware that we were the possibility that there would be no electors or people elected to those board positions that were going to expire. So, and that has indeed matured that way. No interested people. There was 2 people written in, I believe, on the ballots for the last election. And they thought about it, I believe, and then apparently were not interested in filling the position. So at this time, all 3 board members will no longer qualify for that position the 1st of January. So our concern is, of course, that we would like to continue to fulfill the paying the city, which is we pay them for fire protection from a mill levy that's been established, and then we receive that money. We want to make sure that we can kind of fulfill that towards the end of the year. Our concern is the first part of the year, how does that continue without a board? And so that's where I think our district needs some help in that, and how to resolve that. How do we go forward to be able to fulfill that? We don't know. We don't have the answers. It's obvious that, I mean, just by everything that we read, probably it would dissolve if we don't have a board. So, and we're not sure what to do. I mean, we're looking, I've done this for 40 years, and I have fought it every time, but I can't seem to get away from it. But at this time, I've got to face that we need to move on and move forward with something else.
Thanks, Dave. So run this back for me. You're both on the board currently,
Yes.
and both of your terms will be expiring, and you don't wish to continue serving.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's a 3rd position. Is that filled right now, or is that
Yes.
vacant? It is. Okay.
Yes.
So all 3 of them will expire on the 1st?
Yes, sir.
Really? Okay. I believe we got briefed a little bit this morning on the situation, and obviously we probably don't have all the answers right now. We're looking into the different statutes on what the regulations are. I know this governing body has the capability of appointing someone to fill those roles, but obviously the difficulty is finding someone that's willing to do that. There's other options too that I think we just need some more time to review. And John, if you want to chime in, by all means, but there may be a case in regards to your January 1st timeline where you can't vacate the position until there's a replacement coming in, and we're looking into that. We don't know for certain yet, but it's possible that you would remain the board members until a replacement can be appointed, or the district is dissolved or something along those lines. So appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Sure. Obviously we need to dig a little deeper. I know I believe it was you, Dave, that sent us an email in regards to some of your concerns on this, and we were hopeful that some of those write-in candidates would kind of help fill those voids, but it sounds like you weren't interested. So you want to add anything, John?
Mr. Chairman, I would concur that so far as you stated, we just started looking into it, but the idea of a holdover term, holdover elected appears to be the general rule. And so while the process is figured out, bear that in mind, that in Wyoming, the case law that I found so far identifies that there wouldn't be a vacancy while there is a prior elected. And that would have to be reconciled with the vacancy statute. So stay in communication with the board as you look for resolutions to keep things moving forward and keep the fire protection in place.
Do you guys have legal representation that you've been working with, or?
No, sir.
Okay.
No.
Well, give us some time to research some of the different options and make sure that we fully understand, the statutory requirements that are involved there, and then what the next steps may be moving forward. Obviously, our next meeting isn't until, I believe it's January 7th. So with the holidays coming up, if we have to act quick, we can probably arrange for something like that, hopefully. If not, then it sounds like you may be serving a little longer until we find a resolution. Okay.
So everything's current at this point. Nothing's lapsed except our terms. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as money coming in, when do you guys normally receive that? Is that monthly? Is that quarterly?
That's not necessarily on a schedule. It's a tendency of general time. In December, we usually receive disbursements, and then again the 1st of January.
Okay.
And then we're not on a schedule with the city. Basically, it's just kind of a courtesy thing. I mean, I usually make a payment 2 to 3 times a year. So I'm going to pay them probably this month, fairly large amount of, it's maybe $10,000. I mean, that's what we have accumulated now, but we'll pay them. And then, whatever comes in after January, normally we would. So that was a concern, is what do we do with this? If we, can we legally make that payment? I mean,
Sure.
we're both current on our paperwork and everything like that with the banks, bonds and all of that. We just technically, could we do that if we're not board members?
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Give us some time.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tillman?
I have a question, or maybe the assessor could answer. How much do you normally collect and pay to the Green River City? Because you see our problem, if you dissolve your board, then you're not going to be collecting it from your citizens. So we're going to get stuck with the bill.
Uh-huh. You're stuck with the bill anyway.
How much are you collecting though?
For roughly, our budget is about 36,000 for a year. Yeah. And then it's broken down into some bonds, post office box. It's real simple. There's very little to it. Fire protection amounts to about 32,000 a year, or 34, just generally. So we pay almost everything to the city that we can. So keep it simple. So.
Is that right, Mr. Davis? I mean, he's got the exact numbers too.
Mr. Chairman, Dave Davis, the Sweetwater County Assessor. I looked this morning, and the mill levy calculation that we did for Jamestown Fire District will generate, if every dollar billed was collected, it would be 23,000 this year. They may have had some carryover from years before, equating to the 30,000, but the actual 3 mills generates $23,000 in property taxes. I did check with the Treasurer's Office this morning, and then Mr. Bowler does have a continuous bond. So he is still bonded, so he can still receive the payments from the Treasurer's Office. They do get their distribution, just like every other tax authority. When the Treasurer's Office makes the big distribution, they're just a piece of that. So they get the payments just like everyone else does. But they did, we had a quick conversation this morning. And again, I think the point of this was just to let you guys know that, first of all, they tried. And the people that did get write-in votes chose not to participate. So now they're to the point where they just don't know what else to do. So we pulled Mr. De Leon in just for a quick little 30,000 foot view, and we're hoping there's a solution at some point. We just don't know what it is. But the positives of this is that the bonds are still in place. They can still receive payments. If in fact it works where if there's no replacement, they continue in their term, then I think we have some more time. And I think that's really all we were trying to do, is just get a little more time so they can get this resolved, maybe find some volunteers who are willing to do this. We're hoping.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Any questions or comments, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards?
having lived north of Rock Springs pre-fire district number 1, there's no guarantees that the county can or will enter into contracts to provide fire service. And I'm not lecturing to you. I just want to make it public knowledge that the county will or can provide fire service to your area. And what that means is, if your district dissolves, there's the very real chance, which we faced north of Rock Springs, that your insurance companies will choose no longer to insure you and your properties. When that happens, banks will no longer loan in those areas. So I would really encourage the people who live in Jamestown, Rio Vista, not to just sit and wait and see if the Sweetwater County Commission is going to solve their problems for them. The reason fire districts exist is so people can solve those problems themselves and provide those services to themselves that they need. I don't want to see a situation where this district dissolves and then those folks hope we can come to an agreement to continue to provide services out there without a revenue stream. My preference here is that we find a solution to keep Jamestown Rio Vista Fire District intact as a taxing district, as an authority that can make those contracts for themselves and not put everybody into that situation. It saddens me that not enough people have been willing to step up and do the job. And I commend you guys for having done it yourselves for so long. And I understand that you don't want to do it forever. You can't fix your neighbor's problems forever. And your neighbors need to stand up and take some responsibility for their own communities.
Mr. Chairman, I did pull up the folder we had on this special district, and it was actually established in 1970 is when it was established by the voters. And I did look through, and there was a lot of paperwork with Mr. Bowler's name on it. I don't know the years, but it was, a lot of it was hand typed. So he's been there a very long time. And I'm, like Commissioner Richards said, I give these guys a lot of credit for being willing to do it as long as they have. But it's time for, you're right, it's time for other residents of the area to step up, and hopefully they will. And this is only a 3-member board too. It's not like there's 5. This is only a 3-member board. And the terms is kind of an odd situation, according to Mr. Bowler, that all 3 are expiring. It had to do with an appointment of a previous board member, and it wasn't anything that was planned. Normally they're staggered, where 2 are up and then the 1 is up on the odd years. But this is just one of those situations where an appointment happened and it expires at the same time as the other 2. It's just kind of happenstance rather than, it's not planned that way usually, so.
Additional comments, concerns, questions? Commissioner Toman?
How many residents are in that district?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I mean,
There's roughly 240, 250,
240?
somewhere in that neighborhood.
So hopefully you could find someone in that group.
Well,
More work
Yeah.
for you. You've got to beat this.
we've exercised, word of mouth, of course, trying to arm twisting, actually advertised in the paper earlier this year. Tried to make it appealing and interesting. If they are non-compensated positions, of course, they're volunteer. And, and we don't feel as a board that we don't bring in enough money to compensate anybody, much less maintain an office or a firehouse or anything like that. So yeah, there's not an attraction to it. And obviously the dedication for volunteer work for communities diminished in many areas.
But the workload, you're just meeting several times a year to disperse the money mainly? Is that what your job is?
I'm sorry.
Is your main job just to meet several times a year to disperse the money to or to Green River Fire?
Basically, that's it. Yes. The money is collected, of course, by the assessor's office, dispersed to, through the county's processes. We receive a check. We write a check to the city. That's basically all there is to it. And of course, do the budgets and that kind of thing. So we do the same budget that probably you do on the same forms.
Well, maybe if the residents realize what Commissioner Richards has said about their loans and their insurance, maybe
Right.
that will inspire someone.
Yes. Yes, and I perhaps advertising it in the paper. I don't know. I don't have the answer. But.
Okay, well, thank you both for bringing it to our attention. We'll continue to research some available options, and we'll be in touch. My card's over there if you want, and or stick around for a bit. When we go on break, I'll get your information and we'll try and move this forward. Alan, did you want to add something?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Alan Adams, Sweetwater County Fire Warden. Just wanted to make sure the clarification. I spoke with Green River Fire Department and the contract is good until June 30th. So I know you touched on it, but just wanted to make sure it was understood that Green River will continue to respond until June 30th.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. Cindy,
Thank you.
we're bringing everyone up today.
Cindy Lane, Sweetwater County Clerk. I did my best to convince the people who were written in to accept the position, but several of them weren't even aware there was a fire district out there. So that's why they were thinking about it and checking into it. So I just encourage that maybe an article on what does that mean to Jamestown, because they were like, we have a fire district. And I'm like, yes, but then I didn't have a whole lot of information about what do they do, how often do they meet, such as that in that short time frame I have to get there. They have 5 days to decide. So I do encourage that, because there were several members out there who now know there is one, and to just make sure an article or something goes out, or a letter to the residents, so they're aware of what that opportunity is. Thank you.
Thanks, Clerk Lane. Yeah, hopefully the press can help us out a little bit with spreading that word, and we can get some interested applicants. Thank you both for coming over. Appreciate it. We're still under county resident comments and concerns. If there's anyone else that would like to address the governing body, now is your last chance. Seeing and hearing none, we're going to go ahead and close the county resident comment and concerns portion of the agenda, and that's going to move us right along into tab B. Under tab B this morning, commissioners, is the consent agenda. There's 7 items before you. First being the approval of the December 3rd, 2024 meeting minutes rather. Second, the approval of county vouchers, warrants, and the expenditure approval listing, along with the commissioner's report. Third, the approval of bonds. Fourth, the approval of monthly reports. 5, the approval of the abates and rebates. 6 is a request to restaff a vacant position in the sheriff's office. And 7 is approval of a signed service order with ClearGov to ratify the previous soft approval by the Board of County Commissioners. Commissioners, I would ask if there's any requests to remove any of the items off the consent agenda. Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion's unanimous. It's going to move us right along into commissioner comments. And Commissioner Toman, the floor is yours.
Happy holidays to my fellow commissioners and to all of our wonderful staff. You make us look good every day. Thank you so much. On December 3rd, I attended the Green River High School choir concert. It's always quite inspiring. On the 4th of December, I attended the meet and greet for the new 4-H educators at the events complex. On the 5th, I was on the interview committee. We're waiting for the university to give us a final decision as to who the new 4-H educator will be. On December 6th, I attended the federal partners meeting, and thanks Commissioner Richards for coordinating that. I did it with Zoom. On December 7th, I attended the Christmas parade put on by the Rock Springs Chamber. Thanks, Rick Lee and the gang. It was better than ever, better than bigger than the summer parades. Quite amazing. The crowds were out and the floats were abundant. On the 11th, I attended Roy Lloyd's funeral. Again, condolences to his family. We lost a great one. That evening, I attended the Climb Wyoming graduation. Again, an inspiring group of young women who are receiving their CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant degree. So that again was another inspiring event. And then I attended the Bingham GOP Christmas party that evening. Upcoming, I have airport tomorrow morning, airport board. I have Young at Heart tonight at 4 o'clock. And I go to Lyman on Thursday for the Coalition of Local Governments dealing with the federal issues, and the big topic, of course, will be what's going to happen with the Rock Springs RMP and how are we going to face that? Thank you.
Thanks for your report, Commissioner. Short one today. Questions or comments for Commissioner Tillman?
I ran out of paper. No.
If not, Commissioner Richards, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. First, I'd just like to recognize the passing yesterday of Chuck Sykes. Chuck was a former employee of the County Health Board and will be sorely missed by his family and friends. After I saw all of you at our last meeting, I attended the industrial siting permit hearing for the Dry Creek project, followed immediately by the hearing for related impact funds. Later that evening and the next morning, comma there, notice period. First Industrial Siting awarded Dry Creek their permit to move forward with the construction. And second, all of Sweetwater County's impact assistance requests were fully funded at 100%. So I'd call that a success. Those requests included $2,680,101 for Sweetwater County Public Works, mostly for county roads directly around the construction sites, but also including some roads that will be impacted by increased residential traffic around the county. $2,555,229 for the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office for both patrol and detention services. $192,740 for Sweetwater County Joint Powers Communication, covering Sweetwater County's share of the Joint Powers Agreement. $473,842 for Sweetwater County Fire Department, which will be used primarily to fund a new apparatus that Fire District Number 1 will use to respond to contract fires in Sweetwater County. $113,986 directly to Fire District Number 1. $2 million for Sweetwater County Memorial Hospital. $425,000 for Sweetwater County's Castle Rock Hospital District, which includes $188,926 for ambulance service and $236,173 for their medical center, and $1 million for Southwest Counseling, which includes $730,520 for residential services and $269,480 for outpatient services. In addition to the amounts awarded to the county and the entities we sponsored, 4 Sweetwater County municipalities were also fully funded for their requests. So all in all, I would say it was a fruitful couple of days. One last thing I'd like to note is that across all of the requests from all 3 counties, only 0.023% worth of cuts were made. And I attribute that to our communities unanimously adopting an MOU agreeing to how to distribute the funds. That's the second time we've been able to do that. And I think it's the reason we're seeing funding rates nearing 100% project wide, while other communities who aren't working together are seeing 40% or more in cuts to their application. So our system is clearly working. And if we have any more industrial projects in the near future, we'll keep at it. On a related note, I'm still waiting to hear from Lincoln County whether the $10 million pool of impact funds for Kemmer 1 will be increased. We were supposed to know by now. Chief of Staff Allen from Lincoln County emailed us last night and said that he was still waiting to hear those numbers. On December 6th, we held our federal partners meeting. It was well attended and moved quickly. Representatives from the BLM, Sietskiddy, and Ashley National Forest attended and reported. On December 7th, along with most of you, I attended the lighted Christmas parade hosted by the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. It was also well attended by both floats and spectators. There was a lot of people there. It was a neat event. I would note that while we were some of the culprits that were throwing things from our floats to the crowds, we did not technically break the rules that said we couldn't throw candy from the floats because we were throwing Slim Jims. It was a great parade though, and I was happy to participate in the Christmas cheer. On the 10th, I attended a fair board meeting where regular business was conducted, and outgoing board member Roger Torgerson was thanked for his years of service on the board. He served 2 terms, 10 years there. I want to also thank him for the work he's done. He's been a huge asset as both a board member and together with his wife as volunteers for the many events that the events complex hosts. We'll be appointing a new member to that board later this morning, and whoever we choose will have big shoes to fill. On the 11th, I remotely attended a Wyoming State Liquor Association meeting, which I wouldn't normally report on, but they are supporting legislation that would give both municipalities and counties more control over the licensing of historic horse racing machines in our communities. I think that's definitely a good thing, but as always, the devil will be in the details. Also on the 11th, I attended the memorial services for former Commissioner Roy Lloyd. There was a huge turnout of support from the community to commemorate such a great guy, and it was a beautiful service in his honor. After that, I swept my beautiful bride off to Las Vegas for a long weekend to celebrate our 34th wedding anniversary. Teresa and I were married in Las Vegas, so spending the evening of our anniversary there watching the Eagles in concert was a fantastic way to spend some time with her. Yesterday, I joined Johnny King for my monthly visit on the radio, and I also attended a Joint Powers Combined Communication meeting in Green River. They are still searching for a new director, but they have several qualified candidates, are currently narrowing that pool down to a final 4 before doing in-person interviews. Finally, last night, I attended a library board meeting in Rock Springs, where the library director, Travis, reported that total circulation in the libraries year to date is up about 1.3% from last year, and program attendance is up over 10%. Meeting room uses are down, but most of that is because they've stopped taking reservations for some of them in anticipation of the remodels. Lindsay also shared that Constance Potts has been promoted to library manager at the Rock Springs Library beginning January 1st. So congratulations on your promotion, Constance. With her promotion and Deb Soule's retirement, Director Travis is restructuring the staff at the Rock Springs Library and Community Fine Arts Center so that when the new CFAC director is hired, they will be supervised by the Rock Springs Library manager, building manager. The library board is also working on a new meeting room policy, which they will be advertising and taking public comment on, with the plan to adopt at their February meeting. So if anybody has comments on that, I would encourage them to show up at the next couple of library board meetings to share those. Tomorrow I have a housing task force meeting and a SEDS update. On the 20th, I'm excited to attend the Nellie Taylor Ross Day proclamation and meeting with the governor. And then it is clear sailing for the most wonderful time of the year. I want to wish all of you as well the rest of Sweetwater County Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I think that's all I have for you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate your report. Well done on the industrial siding, as always. That's a big win for Sweetwater County, and I think it's attributable to the leadership and the process that has taken place. And that's nothing but positive things for those different entities that we worked together with and helped sponsor. So appreciate you leading the charge on that. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Richards' report? If not, Commissioner Jones, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 3rd, I attended the Sweetwater County Outdoor Rec Collaborative. Most of what was covered was just current projects in the works. Also on the 3rd, attended Sweetwater Snowpoke Snowmobile and ATV annual Christmas party. Great evening, great people. People who spend a tremendous amount of time volunteering for public access to public lands. So hats off to all of those members. On the 4th, I attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County monthly board meeting. Most of the topics covered I've already spoken about. However, one is the Joint Commission that had to come in and do a survey or an audit, but had to do a survey in order for them to move on with critical access. One of the comments that was made from the Joint Commission was they travel the country doing these surveys, but they've never felt as welcome as they did here. So hats off to the folks at the hospital for that. On the 5th, attended the Enterprise meeting. The Grizzlies hockey team gave a presentation. So that was kind of neat to hear from those kids. Looking forward to watching them play. Also on the 5th, my wife and I took off to Las Vegas. We attended the National Finals Rodeo. Full weekend of an extremely well-run rodeo. Several of our friends are down there for it as well. So if anybody ever gets the chance to go down, it's well worth the trip. It's a smooth rodeo. They have it down to, if I remember right, they said their planned time and their actual time differs by 13 seconds every night. So they've got that one figured out. Also on the Friday, there's a breakfast put on by Wyoming Travel and Tourism. It's Wyoming breakfast. It celebrates all of the Wyoming athletes competing in the rodeos. Wyoming is the only state that does this. So it's a pretty special deal. They have a video on each of the athletes telling them, where they're from, where they were raised, what they've done in the last year, put them all up on the stage. So really a great event for Wyoming. People from all over the state are there. Chamber of Commerce, rodeos, you name it. There's all kinds of representation there. So if anybody gets a chance to ever attend that, it's a pretty special event. I was also fortunate enough to speak with Governor Gordon and Senator Brasso for a few moments that morning as well. On the 11th, I attended the service for former Commissioner Roy Lloyd. I've spoken about him here and everybody else has, so won't drone on about it, but Roy will definitely sorely be missed. Rest in peace. On the 12th, I went to the hospital to help hand out gifts to employees while they were served lunch on behalf of the hospital. And they were also given a gift card on behalf of the foundation. They do that every year for all employees, so that's a nice touch. Also on the 12th, I attended the Rock Springs Chamber Christmas dinner where there's some awards handed out. They gave an award to Corinne Hikes for an outstanding volunteer, so congratulations to Corinne. And last thing I have is Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone, and special thanks to our county employees for all they do all year long. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any comments or questions for Commissioner Jones's report? If not, looks like I'm next. Yeah, on the 7th, I too attended the Rock Springs Chambers Christmas Lighted Holiday Parade and enjoyed that. Appreciate the Chamber and Whistler Chevrolet for providing the vehicle for us to ride in. My son asked if he could attend and ride along with us. So the co-commissioners were great in allowing such a thing. And he thoroughly enjoyed throwing Slim Jims at the crowd that Commissioner Richards provided. So good event to kick off the holiday season. Commissioner Slaughter and I were invited to attend a workshop hosted by the City of Green River last Tuesday evening, specific to discussing the solid waste district. The city is evaluating whether to join Solid Waste District 1 to expand their current services or to start their own solid waste district. Lots of good discussion with representation from Wyoming Waste and board and staff members from the solid waste district in attendance there. The commissioners evidently have the authority to expand the boundary should Green River want to pursue. So that likely explains why Rob and I were invited to attend. There are plans to establish a working group to study the different numbers and avenues a little more thoroughly. So we'll wait to hear some more on that. But they're ahead of the game. The city's contracted with Wyoming Waste through December of 2027. And so they're just trying to evaluate some of their different options before making any firm plans. Wyoming Waste expressed that they were also open to negotiations if something comes to, prior to that contract ending. So it's just trying to analyze, if Green River joins, what does that look like for the current district in Rock Springs, and does that add additional services? Right now, they have some curbside recycling and some different, yard waste bins and things like that. So is that an option for Rock Springs? And obviously they have the Green River transfer station here. I believe City Administrator Reed Clevender says they transport about 939 tons of trash from the transfer station each. Well, that was over the course of the last 11 months. So looking into some of the numbers, and I guess we'll know more in the future, but just wanted to let you know that some of those conversations are taking place. Last Wednesday morning, I attended my monthly district board of health meeting. Tamara Walker, our newest appointee, attended her first meeting and seems like she'll be a great fit. It was a light agenda, so there's not a whole lot to report for you. The board did follow suit with our holiday closures and offered a one-time incentive to their staff as well. They discussed having a workshop soon to orient the new board members and gaining a better understanding on the roles of the district. Later that morning, I also attended the funeral and celebration of life for former Commissioner Roy Lloyd. It was very well attended, which I think is a good depiction of the type of guy Roy was. And he'll definitely be missed. I hope to attend the retirement farewell for Lieutenant Michelle Hall this afternoon as she closes the chapter on 20 years of service in the sheriff's office. Just wanted to give her a special thanks for her dedication and service to Sweetwater County and wish her well in her future endeavors. Southwest Counseling will be having a special meeting tomorrow. Staff is requesting permission to complete the fiscal year 26 state funding application with the Behavioral Health Division. And they also have a few grant amendments to discuss and act on for their various ARPA-funded construction projects. I've had several conversations with Museum Director Dave Mead and various other members in preparation for Governor Gordon's proclamation this Friday. January 5th of 2025 will be proclaimed Nellie Taylor Ross Day, and as such, Dave has coordinated to have the governor in attendance with the help of the Museum Foundation and Bridget Nelson and her Green River High School government class. That sounds like a museum tour will follow the proclamation ceremony. Nellie Taylor Ross holds the distinguished honor of being the first female governor in the history of the United States and Wyoming's 14th governor. The January 5th proclamation recognizes 100 years since Governor Ross's inauguration. Pretty cool Wyoming history there. Special thanks to Dave and his staff for coordinating the event. I also received a call from Nolan Rapp from the governor's office late yesterday afternoon. If time allows, the governor would like to get together with us and some of our local legislators Friday afternoon to discuss the new administration and share any information on the RMP. Although we will not be hosting or calling the meeting, we will likely advertise the potential for a special meeting, as I assume all of us will want to be in attendance for that. So we'll see if it works out. Still to be determined on that, but hopefully we'll know some finer details by the end of today. Aside from that, I too just wanted to take a moment to wish county staff and yourselves Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It feels like Thanksgiving came late this year and Christmas came early, but here we are. It's a pleasure to serve with you all, and I look forward to 2025. I'm not sure where the time goes. It does not feel like it's been 2 years sitting up here, but it is an honor, and I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish, and I'm anxious to attack more needs and improvements for the citizens of Sweetwater County to enjoy. I do plan to take some vacation time between the two holidays and spend that with family, so if anything emergent comes up, please call Mary. Otherwise, we'll see you back here on the 7th. That concludes my report.
I'm so glad there aren't going to be any issues.
If there are none, Commissioner Slaughter, you're batting cleanup today.
Mr. Chairman, as you well know, batting cleanup means that I am Commissioner redundancy today. So I will just hit some of the items that others have touched on, and I have a few others also. But on the 3rd, after our meeting, I did attend the Industrial Siting Council hearings for Pacific Dry Creek Soda. On the 4th, I once again attended the second day of hearings. Don't want to pile on too much information here, but I feel it's important to recognize the influence that the Sweetwater County delegation, led by Commissioner Richards, had on these proceedings. The council repeatedly addressed the fact that we were able to get all of the parties to sign an MOU, and they were somewhat in awe of that. They have not seen that in other areas around the state. And once again, I really attribute that to the impact that our delegation, specifically Deputy Attorney De Leon, Land Use Director Bingham, and specifically Commissioner Richards have had in developing that MOU process and getting all of the entities to sign that MOU. The collaboration on this MOU helped all of Sweetwater County receive virtually 100% of the funding. I believe that $8,008 was denied, and it came out to just under $35 million. So a big plus for Sweetwater County and our surrounding counties and municipalities. That night, I attended an open house for the candidates for the UW Extension Service Educator position. The open house was held in the Bison Room, Sweetwater County Events Complex. The two candidates gave informal presentations introducing themselves and then answered questions for the public. It was a good opportunity to see and evaluate the candidates in a public setting. On the 5th, I attended the Rock Springs Chamber Enterprise Committee meeting. The guest speakers for the meeting were members of the Rock Springs Grizzlies, as alluded to by Commissioner Jones. It was interesting to hear about the Grizzlies and to be exposed to a couple of young men that participate on their team. Both of the young men present were articulate and seemed to be excellent representatives for their club. It definitely stimulated my interest in the local hockey program, and I will definitely attend some of their games in the future. I then went to the events complex where Commissioner Tolman and I served on the interview committee for the UW Extension Educator position. As part of a 5-member panel, we conducted in-depth interviews for the two finalists, It was a good experience, and I think we were able to make a good recommendation and hope the candidates selected will be as much a positive influence in their new position as we hope they will, and hope that the university does see that our recommendation was the correct avenue to move forward with. On the 6th, I listened in on the quarterly government affairs Trona industry update sponsored by the Green River Chamber. Fred Von Ahrens of Genesis Alkali gave an overall summary on the current status of the Trona patch. Dave Kaplan of Genesis announced that he will be retiring this week after 40 plus years. I say 40 plus, I'm sure that's what he said. It was that long. I know it's been a long time. I'd certainly like to thank Dave and congratulate him for being such a great member of our community. He's always been willing to help anytime we had questions about the soda ash industry. Ron Wild of Rocky Mountain Power also gave us some good news when he announced that Rocky Mountain Power will be decreasing their rates 0.9% on January 1st. I then spoke with Josh Bergener of McGee Hernan Pies, and he informed me we would be receiving the preliminary draft of the specific purpose tax joint powers board audit later that afternoon. We had a good discussion, and he informed me that Brittany Wilson of their firm would be presenting the audit at our regular joint powers board meeting on Monday the 9th. After receiving the audit that afternoon, I had a short discussion with Brittany and then reviewed the audit. On the 7th, as was previously reported, I participated with Commissioners Tolman, West, Richards in the Rock Springs Chamber Lighted Christmas Parade. We all missed Commissioner Jones, but were able to represent the county on a cold winter night while he celebrated in the warmth of Las Vegas. It was an awesome parade, and Rick Lee and his staff at the chamber should once again be commended on providing such a wonderful event for our citizens. There was great participation, both in numbers of parade participants and also the people who were attending the parade. I think there was many people as what there typically are in the summer. It was awesome. On the 9th, I conducted the regular monthly meeting of the Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board. We heard an update from North Sweetwater District and approved requisitions that had been submitted for the month. We then received the annual audit report for our first fiscal year of operation. Brittany Wilson of McGee Hernan Pies presented the audit and presented it as a clean audit. We will discuss that further as part of our regular agenda. On the 10th, Commissioner West and I, as he alluded to, attended a workshop put on by the city of Green River, the city looking at potential ways to provide better solid waste service to its residents. Don't need to add any more to that, I don't think. On the 11th, Marielle and I attended the celebration of life for former Commissioner Roy Lloyd. Roy was an extremely active member of our community and worked very hard in all aspects of his life to make Sweetwater County a better place to live. The celebration of life was a great tribute to a very popular member of our community. Roy's tenacity and huge heart will be greatly missed. That night, we attended the GOP Ugly Sweater Contest and potluck dinner. It was a great chance to share food and fun with good friends. As usual, there was way too much food and time moved way too quickly, but I think a good time was had by all. On the 13th, I participated in a planning meeting for the congressional tour that will take place this summer. It was tentatively decided that the tour will be conducted August 4th through the 8th, with the delegation arriving in Natrona County on the 4th. They will then travel to Fremont County on the 5th, Sweetwater County on the 6th, Carbon County on the 7th, with the return to Natrona County the morning of the 8th. Each of the counties will be responsible for their own itineraries the day the delegation will be with them. We each gave some sample ideas that will work to firm up the itineraries before our next meeting on January 10th. I gave a sample itinerary for us, and we'll be working with each of you to refine it as we move forward. We may want to start considering people we may want to have speak or participate as part of that congressional tour. That evening, Marielle and I helped coordinate a benefit dinner, auction, and cornhole tournament to benefit a local resident, Corey Warden. Corey's been diagnosed with leukemia and is currently undergoing a bone marrow transplant at the U of U. Through the help of generous residents of our community who participated in this benefit, we were able to raise several $1,000s to help Corey fight his battle. Outstanding support in this community. Anytime you have something of that nature, it just you can't say enough about the people of Sweetwater County and their generosity. On Thursday, I too will go to the CLG meeting to hear what things are said about our RMP probably at that point in time. And also will be there for the meeting with the governor on Friday. With that, I would just state that I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. specifically all of the people who work for Sweetwater County, but also all the people who work and live in Sweetwater County. As I stated, from the benefit that we had, it is a tremendous place to live. And I cannot say enough about that, and wish a very sincere Merry Christmas to everyone. Now, with that, Mr. Chairman, I would conclude my report and stand for any comments.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Slaughter's report?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I
Richards?
don't have any questions or comments for Commissioner Slaughter, but I do have additional comments I need to make before you break.
Sure.
While we're sitting here, I received an email from via counsel from the Attorney General's office concerning Kemmer One. The contractor there has agreed to increase what they're declaring as materials purchases, which will increase the available amounts of impact funds. However, they're declaring that, and I believe I've discussed this with you before, but they're declaring some of that information to be trade secret and confidential. I've forwarded you a non-disclosure agreement that they've asked local governments to sign. I would like your, as a board's authorization to sign that non-disclosure agreement and continue to negotiate with the other counties in reaching an MOU. However, from this point, there's going to be some information that we won't be able to share. So I would like your authorization to enter into that non-disclosure agreement.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions on that, Commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve of entering the non-disclosure agreement in reference to the TerraPower industrial siting process,
And allow me to sign.
and allow Commissioner Richards to sign.
So moved.
Sorry, I missed that. Was it Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Jones, move to approve. Do we have a second?
Yes, I can second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. You bet. I did want to quickly mention too, I hate mentioning these and I hate receiving the news. I got a call from Commissioner Slaughter yesterday and also one from Donnelly Boback, District Court Clerk, in regards to another gentleman who has passed away in Barry Tippy, who was a longtime serving highway patrolman and local business owner of Red White Buffalo. It seems like we have a lot of that lately, and that's unfortunate news, but did want to give a little recognition there. And with that, Commissioners, I believe that concludes everyone's reports. Nice work as we rein in the end of the year here. And that'll move us right along into tab C, which is the action and presentation items. First item is a break, and we're right on track. So we will resume back here at 10:15.
I didn't know
And
about
as
the other
always,
day.
you know, it was really.
Okay. All right, we are back from break. Where we left off was tab C. We are now on item number 2, which is the approval of the 2024 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement. With us this morning is Grants Manager Christina Marshall, as well as Sheriff Grossnickel. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Sweetwater County was awarded $47,278 in Emergency Management Performance Grant Funding, or EMPG, from the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security. So the project requires a 50% cash match, and it expires in September 30th, 2025. So the purpose of EMPG funding is to assist local governments in enhancing and sustaining all hazards emergency management capabilities, including activities related to prevention, mitigation, protection, response, and recovery. So this funding will be used for allowable payroll and travel expenses for the emergency management coordinator, who's supervised by the sheriff's office. So right now, the budget includes travel to attend a state meeting, as well as payroll. The budget for 10 months is $94,556. So a few notes on that. The statewide EMPG funding level was reduced this fiscal cycle and subsequent award to Sweetwater County. However, the fiscal year 2025 EMPG grant budget should not have a shortfall because the new emergency management coordinator will incur only 10 months of expenses in fiscal year 25. And if there's any leftover money, it can be carried forward into our fiscal year 2026 budget, and we will apply for this funding anymore. So I'm hoping there's no shortfall for the county to cover, if that makes sense. Okay, so fortunately, that position was vacant, and because of that, it's a smaller budget. However, the required cash match for this project was included in the fiscal year 2025 grant projects budget. And so following approval of this grant agreement, expenditures incurred at the beginning of this fiscal year will be reimbursed. So in your packet, I have a point of contact form for your approval along with the agreement. I wanted to make a note that the chairman mentioned Lieutenant Michelle Hall's retirement. And so now Lieutenant Rich Fisher will be the point of contact for the emergency management coordinator. And then you also have the full agreement. I don't know if you went through it, but attachment B in the packet lists the articles of for compliance purposes. It's very, very interesting to go through it. Most of it's not applicable, but I thought you'd enjoy looking at the 47 different articles in this grant. So, and there is one really interesting that I haven't seen in some of our grant agreements dealing with motels with fire alarms. So that they need to be wired. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on the grant portion. And of course, the sheriff's here as well to answer any of your questions.
Thanks, Christina. Very well prepared as always. Appreciate the explanation there. Are there any questions or comments on this grant agreement, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the 2024 Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Yes, I will second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Okay. Merry Christmas and see you next year.
Thanks, Christina. Same to you.
Thank you.
Next under tab C is item number 3. We've got an amendment to the inmate housing agreements. With us this morning is Under Sheriff Joe Tomich. And I believe you have the amendments in your packet. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So before you are two separate amendments, labeled amendment number 1 to the Sweetwater County Detention Center Offender Housing Agreement. One of these is between the City of Rock Springs and the county, and the other one is between the City of Green River and the county. This board in 2023 approved the updated contract with those two cities. So these are for the sheriff's office to house offenders who are arrested on municipal ordinance violations. So the reason for this amendment is that we had an unforeseen situation that didn't come up when we did these contracts originally last year. And that was that the original contracts only charged a sum of $125 a day per inmate without differentiation between adult and juvenile offenders. And that was because I don't think anybody foresaw a situation where we were going to house a juvenile offender on a municipal charge. However, that recently did become an issue for us. So in conversations with the City of Rock Springs and City of Green River, we've agreed to amend that to meet our current housing rates, which are $125 a day for an adult offender and $195 a day for a juvenile offender. So these two agreements are just amendments to paragraph 2A of that original agreement for both cities. So with that, I would just ask the board authorize those both of those amendments as presented, and then authorize the chairman to sign those.
Very good. Thanks, Joe. Questions? Commissioner
Yeah,
Tillman?
I do have a question, because why is the resolution only with Rock Springs? You don't have Green River resolution, you just have an amendment?
There should have been a second, both amendments should have been included in the package.
I see both amendments, but then I see a resolution only with Rock Springs.
Oh, so what's happened there is that the City of Rock Springs actually got ahead of the ball on this and
Okay.
has already approved it. I believe it is on the Green River City Council agenda for tonight. So originally the plan was that all three entities were going to take care of it during today's governing body meetings, but City of Rock Springs got ahead of the curve for us.
So we'll have to sign their resolution later? Or?
No, you don't have to sign the resolution.
okay.
We'll just include it as an attachment and as a whole to
Okay.
the amendment. So
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the amendment for inmate housing agreements with the City of Rock Springs and City of Green River and authorize the chairman to sign.
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Tillman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Same to you.
Looking forward to working with you.
Very well. Item number 4 under tab C is the award of the 9 Mile Road project to Kilgore Companies LLC, doing business as Lewis and Lewis Incorporated. With us this morning is Public Works Director Gene Legursky. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. What you have before you is the culmination of about 3.5 years' work on County Road 9, the 9 Mile Road. It's the road that goes out to the power plant. We're concentrating on the first 1.5 miles of this road that was given to us by the state of Wyoming, 12 years ago, in a swap when they took over the Ivan Ray Road, and we got a couple other roads that they didn't want. On this, what it involved is a total reconstruction of that section of the road. This road, as you can imagine, is always in the top 3 of our busiest roads in the county. As far as paved roads go, it is, in between 1,800 and 1,900 cars a day. So it's quite busy, 7 days a week, during shutdowns and stuff like that. That number jumps up to almost 3,000 for however long the shutdown is. And what I'm asking for is to approve the bid and the contract with Lewis and Lewis. I need to say that a portion of this $1,540,285.70 is paid through a Wyoming Energy Authority grant that we got from the state legislature. They set aside $10 million, and we got a portion of that. For that, the rest will come out of fuel tax.
Thanks, Gene. Any questions or comments on this award, commissioners? What was that number again, Gene, on the?
$1,540,285.70.
Okay.
So we're paying 2.167
And is that all of the remaining funds, I should say, that the state has, or to be determined?
No, it's not. We were told it was beginning, and then another entity must have turned some money back because we were made aware in November during our last Wasters meeting that Campbell County snuck some more money out of that fund. So they got about 8.5 million and we got 1.5 total out of the 10 million. So we'll work with our legislatures to see how we can better do that money again on that. So.
Well, I appreciate your work on that. I know that's been going on for a long time, and Representative Stith was pushing hard to work with us on that, but
Yeah,
talk about
and then
government
Mr. Luthi left the WEA and went to the governor's office, so a little bit. So when Mr. Krieger picked up the WEA stuff, we finally got the ball rolling, and then he had a staff member that we were working with quit, so it's just one of those
in the
things.
meantime, Campbell's just socking it away.
Yep.
So here we are.
Yep. Trust me, I've given the public works director and the road and bridge guy enough grief up there for everybody.
Very good. Any other comments, questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to award the 9 Mile Road project to Kilgore Companies LLC, doing business as Lewis and Lewis Incorporated, and allow the chairman to sign.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gene. Moving right along is item number 5. We've got a catering permit request for the Eden Saloon and RV Park. And joining us again this morning is County Clerk Cindy Lane. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. They are having a New Year's Eve party out at the Farson Community Center, and the Eden Saloon and RV Park is requesting an offsite application for a catering permit to host that out there on New Year's Eve.
Great family event. I would encourage everyone to attend.
Are you attending, Commissioner?
I always do.
Very well. Any questions, comments on the request? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the catering permit for the Eden Saloon and RV Park for the New Year's Eve party on December 31st, 2024 through January 1st, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to make that motion.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Tillman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Move us right along to item number 6, which is a review of the ClearGov contract for consideration of approval. And we'll hand it back to Clerk Lane.
All right, thank you again, Chairman, Commissioners. After our last meeting in regards to the ClearGov software program that will help Sweetwater County operate and communicate more effectively with each other in the community, Rebecca and I went to work to ensure that the product I am recommending today will be beneficial to Sweetwater County. I did write it all out because I spoke to a lot of people and I don't want to miss anything and miss answering one of the questions that you all had. So after you shared your concerns at the last meeting, Rebecca and I began speaking with cities, towns, and counties who have implemented the ClearGov program to see how it has helped them. At times, we had to leave voicemails for financial directors and accountants and thought we might not hear back from them. But we were surprised that all of them returned our calls and told us how ClearGov has helped them streamline their processes and how their residents appreciate being able to understand the financials of their particular government entities. In fact, we made a couple of new best friends. They gave us their direct phone numbers so that if we do implement this program, we can call and ask any questions that we would like to, and they will help us through. We spoke to the city of Flowery Branch, Georgia, Fair Oaks Ranch, Texas, city of Ridgefield, Washington, Yuma, Arizona, Orange County, New York, Buena Vista, Colorado, and Mesquite, Nevada. We tried to get different sizes and entities so that we could get a well-rounded view of this program. All had rave reviews on how the system works and especially their customer service. The company has been in business for about 9 years, and some of these places we spoke with have been with the company for that long and have had the same customer service representative the entire time. On the ClearGov staff, which we found out during this process, they have former city and county clerks, councilmen, and other government officials who, once they were out of their roles, they went to work for ClearGov so that ClearGov could understand what actually from the ground up helps counties become better financial stewards of taxpayer dollars. We spoke with people who both helped research the program at its beginning and implement it, and those who use it daily. In fact, Alice from the city of Mesquite has been in software design and management for over 30 years and said that by far this is the best budget tool she has ever used. She especially liked the feature of the budget software that includes an easy to see audit trail of who made the changes in the system so others can't be blamed if something goes wrong. The program also includes the GFOA standards, that's our government accounting standards, for government reporting. And another wonderful feature is that if you make a change in a particular item, it filters through the entire process so that we aren't out there trying to find the different line items to place that number in. It does it automatically for us. So if we were in here doing budgeting and we made a change, you could see it throughout the entire process and how it affects our budget here. And most importantly, we were informed that even their most senior administrators find the program easy to use and have embraced it and are able to use it effectively. Last week, Rebecca and I met with HR Director Gary McLean and with Brenda Rail to discuss the personnel component. Our team leader, Michael, with ClearGov, met with us and was able to answer HR's questions and concerns. Gary took some time to look it over and think about whether this tool would be helpful in our personnel process for budgeting. And he gave us his approval to include the personnel budgeting in the contract if you so approve. In order to lock in the 3% yearly increase to not be subjected to any potential higher increases in the future, the contract does go through July 1st of 2032, as there is no penalty for canceling this product at any time. It just locks in that rate so that our increase wouldn't go up to 4 or 5 or 6% in the future. Deputy County Attorney John DeLeon also reviewed the contract to make sure it represents what ClearGov is claiming and that there's no hidden small words in that contract to make sure that we could get out of it at any time if we wanted. When asked about canceling the services and how that affects our access to county information, it was made known that if we cancel, we will no longer be able to add to the program, but we'll always have access to the information that was input during our active contract. So we don't lose any ability to go out and get our data. This product will help the clerk's office provide a better and more clear picture of the county finances, which should help with a smooth budget cycle. After researching this product that has been backed by NACO as well as the people we contacted, I am requesting the contract before you be approved and allow the chairman to sign.
Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate the information. Let me open up any questions or comments on this contract, commissioners.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
when we saw upheaval in our budgeting process and in our accounting department, we told the clerk that we would give her the tools that she thought she needed to continue to provide good budgeting service to this county. And I think she's asking for this tool. I know there's concerns about software. It's always difficult to foresee what the negative side effects of adopting new software is going to be. But this software doesn't replace what we have. It just augments what we have. It creates a layer over the top and a user interface that'll allow us and our staff and Clerk Lane's staff to interact more effectively with our accounting and our budget. And my personal belief here is that we take the clerk's recommendation and sign this contract and try this product. What we're doing now is a struggle. And I think this is an opportunity for us to have a better budget process this year.
I have a question.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Tillman.
I mean, Rebecca's been working with you. Does she feel she'll be able to work with this and it will help her process?
Yes, actually, Rebecca had been researching ClearGov, brought it to my attention. And then Commissioner Richards at the same time called and said, hey, have you seen this product? And I said, actually, we have been looking at it. We looked at a couple others. This one seems to be the most user-friendly, has the best customer service, and is right within the price of the others. We did reach out to Tyler, and this doesn't replace our actual financial software. All of these counties and cities also have financial software, and then this brings it out and makes it an easier product instead of having to go dive into those more burdensome programs that hold a lot of information and data. This pulls it out in an easier format. So yes, we do believe it will help us, and it will help us present to you in a more favorable manner than 72 Excel spreadsheets that can get confusing. This actually allows for all of our department heads to upload, to view. You would have view access to all departments, all line items. It drills it down to all the notes for each line item. They can upload pictures to it so you can see what the projects are. This also involves the capital projects, this contract, where I know Mr. Legursky had come to me after and said, hey, you know, they have a capital component. And I said, actually, we did see that. So he has actually looked at this program as well, since he was aware that it involved the capital projects as well. So just knowing that Munis, when we did reach out, we never got a response back from them. I know Tim reached out on a few things and they were going to get back with him, but we don't have any new data from them on some of the things that they have. We can enhance on that. It would add cost to that program as well, but it's not as interactive.
So does this price include the components that we need then?
Yes,
Like
it
capital, et
includes,
cetera?
yep, it does. It has the operational budgeting, the personnel, the capital, and the digital budget book, which then has an interactive budget book for the community to look through as well. And I did want to give a shout out to Rebecca. I just kind of looked at our budget book that's online, but she did add interactive links in the table of content. So if you're looking through our budget book online and you want to go to a specific item, you can do that now. I was like, oh, I just kind of looked at it, made sure it was on there and it was accurate. And so I did want to give a shout out to her. She is really looking into how do we make this more user friendly for not only you as commissioners, but to our residents of Sweetwater County.
Yeah, a great improvement rather than scrolling through hundreds of pages and trying to find the different headings. So additional comments, questions, commissioners? I'm all for efficiencies and improving processes. Obviously, last year was kind of a nightmare with the 72 spreadsheets that you brought up. So I'm anxious
Literally 72
for improving that process and streamlining it. I think sometimes government makes a big deal out of budgeting, and while it is, you know, probably the most important thing that we do, I don't think the process is all that difficult because the majority of the expense is, you know, salary and benefits, and for the most part there isn't a lot of change with that. And so primarily speaking, it's more on the capital side of things, and I think simplifying the process is our ultimate goal. And so I look forward to that. I have some concerns. It just feels a little bit rushed, but I know a couple weeks ago they were talking about throughout that 2-week period they would look at our chart of accounts or whatever the case was. Did they provide any feedback in that regard as far as the two, I guess, softwares that we have?
No, they have a ClearGov's. Like I said, we've already been given representatives. I was contacted by the CEO and co-founder of ClearGov to welcome us and say any questions we have. We have her number now. She sent me her business card. We sent the information to them that same day. They've been working on it, looking into it. And if this is approved, then we have a meeting already tomorrow to begin getting that onboarded in their expedited process. The whole expedited team is ready and waiting to hear from us. A couple of the other cities and towns, they did the same thing. 90 days is their typical onboarding. This one will be expedited. So we are within that time frame of even if it wasn't expedited. So while it seems quick, I mean, I guess we've been looking at it for a little while. It is their normal process, and a lot of the other cities and towns ended up with it and were able to use it the first year. A couple of them even said that once we get into it, there's so much more it's not even advertised to do that we will be able to use it for. And that was one of the gentlemen from Mesquite who said, call me. I call them anytime I have something that I'd like to see done. They get on it. they get back to us, they say if they can, and they've implemented things that they've asked them to do for their city or town, and then they move forward with it. And we do know that Rollins, the city of Rollins, this week they're on board. They're starting their process as well, city of Rollins. So they'll be the second city, would be the first county
And then I know
in Wyoming.
kind of some of the reorganization and bringing Rebecca on board. We were dealing with a third-party accountant and helping us with financial statements and all that. Is that going to continue? I'm looking expense-wise, right? And adding obviously a cost for this software, but then are we still paying for that? And is it budgeted for? Can you give me a breakdown on that or background?
This part does not necessarily help with that. They have a new financial program coming out next month, ClearGov's does, that would help with that. However, we're looking into seeing once it's launched, what the best route would be, because right now our financial statements has to be reviewed and done by a CPA. It has to, that's per state statute. So we have a couple different options. Our auditors have said they could do it as well for a cost, $10,000, $11,000, somewhere in there. So we're not sure yet if they would be a better cost or if this new program coming out, we don't have the amount yet for that. That would help us with that. But it does help us organize it to put it into those programs quicker and more efficiently instead of having to go dig it all out to upload it even to the people that would need it.
Okay. But I assume we'd probably need a budget amendment for this.
Yes,
Okay.
I would need it. Yeah, I do try to keep my budget pretty lean. So I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, oh, I don't quite have $41,000 extra in my budget. So I would have to come back with a budget amendment, but they will get started as soon as if you decide to sign the contract.
Okay. Commissioner Slaughter?
Mr. Chairman, Clerk Lane, as you both well remember, I'm sure I expressed some reservation with respect to this 2 weeks ago when we were talking about it, with some of the same concerns that the chairman brought forth. Basically being, it seems like we're moving very quickly with this. At that time, basically what I asked was that IT Director Knight and you and your staff look into this a little more, and it looks as if you have done that. I think you've done your groundwork, and it sounds like, you are of the opinion that this will certainly help us. I think that this is your decision. So I will reverse my position based on the fact that I think you've done what I asked at that point in time, and I will be in favor of this. So I commend you for going forward and doing what I asked it and trying to find better information on this. So it didn't seem as much as if we were rushing into it, and that and we've looked into all the angles with it. So thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. I did take that into consideration and wanted to make sure before I recommend something that I think it will be good for Sweetwater County.
Any additional comments or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the service contract with ClearGov in the amount of $41,015 and authorize the chairman to sign.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
should we amend that a motion to include the setup services? Because it's not just 41,000, it's also $9,360 in setup fees.
Oh, I apologize. Yes. I
Oh,
thought they
sorry, I
added
was
it all
looking
the
up
way
above. I
down.
thought it was included in there. You're right. I'm gonna amend that to the contract as presented.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I don't know.
No, second. I would make that motion to amend it.
Okay, we do have an amendment by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Richards. Is there further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thank you both for your work in coordinating that, and let us know where we can help out. We look forward to.
We'll be reaching out for training on how to
Yeah,
use it
good.
for you guys once we get trained. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item under tab C is item number 7. We've got an events complex board appointment to replace the expiring term of long-serving Roger Torgerson. I believe Commissioner Richards said he'd served 2 terms for 10 years total. So we certainly thank him. We've got 5 applications on file. And at this time, I'd hand it over to their liaison and Commissioner Richards.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to appoint Chris Meets to fill the vacancy in the Events Complex Board.
We do have a motion to appoint Chris Meets to the Sweetwater County Events Complex Board. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second that. I think he'd be a great candidate.
We have a second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion on the appointment?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I had a long discussion with Mr. Meets yesterday. Mr. Meets serves on other boards for the county. He has proven himself willing and able to provide service to Sweetwater County. I think his background in 4-H and shooting sports will be a value to the events complex. And he's assured me that he will not just be a meeting attendee, he will be an active participant on the board and an active volunteer for the events complex. So he comes with my great recommendation.
Thanks, Commissioner. No, good guy. And we had a lot of good applications. Larry Demshar, Jessica Evans, Bridget Bernard, and Tricia Cecil. They all, I thought, filled out a very informative and detailed application. Some included kind of their resume and a letter of interest too. So definitely a tough decision, but
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
in support of Mr. Meeks.
I would say any of the applicants that we chose would have been a good fit. It was a difficult decision, but I think Chris will do a good job.
It's nice to have some interest too. Of course, the events complex is the fun one, so get a little more interest there. Additional discussion.
How's old KW holding up?
Except that discussion. It's always when Candy's here, she throws the one-liners out.
I know.
We do have a motion and a second on the table to appoint Chris Meets to the Sweetwater County Events Complex Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. And the final item before us this morning is the Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board Annual Audit. And I'll hand it over to Commissioner Slaughter.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. As I stated in my earlier comments today, last week we were sent the preliminary draft on the audit for the Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board. We then received the final report on Monday at our regularly scheduled meeting. The report basically was a compilation of our audited financial statements. They analyzed the information which we had presented to them. They reviewed all supplementary information. They evaluated our compliance. They evaluated our net cash position, which would be our assets, and our assets currently exceed our liabilities by $10,379,460 at June 30th of 2024. Brittany referred to this as a clean audit. In the audit document, there was what they determined to be one material weakness, and that was simply an item in which they identified that our board and the staff which we have limited experience in preparing financial disclosures and the appropriate related footnote disclosures, but they state that we have remedied that by hiring MHP to do those financial disclosures and footnotes. So all in all, I think for a first audit, it was an excellent audit. Brittany said that she would certainly be glad to talk with any of the commissioners if there were any further questions. We will have copies of the written document sent to us shortly. I do have, they're going to send a copy, a written copy for each of the board members on the Specific Purpose Tax Board and one for our purposes. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would be glad to try and answer any questions, but very glad to get that over with. And I think things have gone pretty well with it. The auditors do seem to think that it will be much easier for them moving forward. They've got a little better understanding now of some of the changes that were made with our new method of doing the bonding versus what was done in our previous specific purpose tax issues. And they're looking forward to doing it in the future.
Very good. I appreciate your work on that, Commissioner. I know I've told you before, but that's a very crucial board, and Rob chairs that and does a great job at it. And, I think the amount of work and effort that goes into advertising the tax, getting it to be passed, and then it seems like everything just kind of goes away, but it really doesn't. That's when the real work begins. And it's very complex, and keeping up with, detailed records, and obviously a large, financial revenue source coming in, and how those are divvied up and distributed. And there's a lot that goes to it. So I thank you for your expertise on that. And obviously the audit shows you're doing a great job as well. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
Questions or comments for the specific purpose tax audit?
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman.
Does the auditor's fee comes out of the tax, right?
It does. The way this has been structured, as I stated, the bond attorneys who represented us in this issue represented a different mechanism for collection and distribution than what we've done in the past. We got away from the lease revenues which were done on our previous issues, and it's all being done through a revenue now. So as the money is coming in each month, and I just received this morning, so I can show you, I think. This is a copy that the bank sends me each month. Once the county treasurer's office has submitted the payment from Department of Revenue to them. And what this does, the bank calls it a waterfall distribution. And in this waterfall distribution, what takes place is any fees which are due to the trustee bank come out of the distribution first. Then if there are any administrative expenses of the board, it comes out second. So this fee for the audit would be paid out of the administrative expenses that would currently have been distributed here. Then there is a payment for the a 12th of the distribution, which will be done on the interest for the bonds. And there is a 12th of the payment, which is done for the principal of the bonds. And then once that payment is done, any of the balance goes to those entities which were not bonded in this issue. So that would be the entities of Green River, Superior had a non-bonded issue, Jamestown, and North Sweetwater. So in this situation, we had, and one of the reasons I will send a requisition out this afternoon for the city of Green River, they received $533,000 in this distribution. And what we're doing with the city of Green River in this situation is just passing that directly back to them. So that requisition will go on to the bank this afternoon, and they will receive that funding tomorrow from the bank. So long answer to your short question, but that administrative fee comes out of the second portion of that waterfall.
Thank you.
Additional comments or questions? We don't need to approve that, do we, Rob? That was just for information?
No, our board had to do that,
Sure.
but this board, it's just basically informational purposes.
Okay. Well, thanks for putting that together and presenting. With that, commissioners, that concludes our 2024. So with no further business, Merry Christmas, happy